Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. That's right, we are the nation's longest running talk show on computers and technology. Thank you so much for joining us once again as we get things kicked off here on a Thursday afternoon. Now, real quick, just want to get this out of the way that I know that today is usually our all Linux show with Marcel Gagne. That's right, he is still with us, and it's just been one of those things that we had to reschedule. Obviously, this week has not been the best of weeks, but we are going to reschedule him for some time later in the month, and he will be back on his normal time again next month. So you can still check out everything Marcel Gagne is doing over at Cooking with Linux or Freethinker at Large or any of the various places. He has his own goings on, and we highly encourage you to go check that out. But in the meantime, we are doing computer and technology news today, and we have a lot of different stories that we really need to get to. So before we get started with that, though, I of course want to mention a few things, including computeramerica.com. That is where you will find everything that has to do with the show, including show notes, so any articles we talk about today, any videos, anything we do, available over there in the show notes. Also, the social media contest, a new winner for that will be chosen next week. That's right. Not even next week. Tomorrow. Wow, my days are all mixed up. Tomorrow, we will be choosing a winner from our social media page, and they will be receiving a prize from Logitech. So, with all of that, why don't we, of course, mention the video stream where you can watch Computer America and not just listen to Computer America. Now, and trust me, it's my face really isn't the attraction, but you get to follow along with the stories. You get to see videos and demonstrations of products. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. And that is just about everything as we now kick off to, of course, computer and technology news. And again, this is the segment where we spend, a little while before the day starts, getting all these news stories together, getting everything about technology in one place, and we try to, bring you the best of it. Try to bring you what you need to know, when you need to know it, and try to make it fun for you as well. So, why don't we get kicked off here with, again, computer and technology news. All right, and once again, computer and technology news is brought to you by Computer America. So, why don't we get started off with this one that I'm showing right now, and again, on the video portion, but Portland. Portland is one of those things, a previous correspondent, he was from there. He could not say enough about it. He fell in love with the city and its people. And I have others that I know that are not that they're against Portland, but they're certainly not pro-Portland. And it seems like one of those places that, you either love Portland or you hate Portland, Oregon. Well, looks like maybe Portland thinks that its drivers are some of the worst around. That's one way you can read this, where they have a story out today saying that Portland wants to get driverless vehicles on the road this year. Progressive. If nothing else, this is very progressive. So here we have this coming from Engadget, and we have Andrew Dalton to thank for this. But a new initiative from the city of Portland, Oregon, hopes to attract the fast-growing self-driving car industry to the city streets, where, according to Bloomberg, Mayor Ted Wheeler and the city's Bureau of Transportation are working to finalize a new set of rules governing autonomous vehicle pilot programs and hope to have the driverless vehicles on the roads by the end of this year. Not 2018, not 2020, by the end of this year. Very cool. And Portland will be specifically looking to attract programs that actively enhance Portland's current transit infrastructure or improve accessibility while also helping the city reduce its carbon emissions, saying that the city will finalize its autonomous vehicle regulation after a 2-year test period. So by this year, but finalized within 2 years. Okay, that makes more sense. But as Bloomberg has noted, any autonomous vehicle program operating in the city will also have to be able to test its cars in a wider range of road conditions thanks to Portland's notoriously rainy weather. That's right, they do get a lot of rain. So, the most popular test beds in California and Arizona are arid by comparison. And that's not a coincidence. It's not just where the companies are starting out. They did it on purpose. Because self-driving is of course hard. You can ask Uber and they're flipping cars. It's a very hard thing to do, and ideal driving conditions, great visibility, dry roads and that kind of thing, they're easier to cope with when you're first designing these kinds of products. So, throwing rain and snow and hills and poor visibility and turns, that's not the best thing in the world. So, again, when they first started, straight roads, curvy roads, dry roads, great visibility, all necessary to get the thing started. But Portland is hoping that its range of weather will be more readily conducive to different driving conditions, and of course help accelerate any kind of self-driving car program with its variety of weather conditions. So, although the city wouldn't reveal which tech companies or automakers are interested in moving to Portland, most of the major players have reportedly reached out. And yeah, there's a lot of major players. So the city has a checkered past with, of course, Uber and the ride-hailing giant, where it used a secret project called Greyball to evade regulators there, which explains why officials wanted to lay down regulations before another industry comes to town. And on the other hand, GM and Lyft's joint projects is about to have a large fleet of autonomous vehicles ready for the roads, and it could use a forward-thinking city to roll them out. Right, and again, it's not just Uber, it's not just Tesla, it's not just Lyft, but it's traditional car manufacturers as well. Mercedes has made a lot of plans about this. Volkswagen is, of course, working on this. Every car company that is looking to future-proof itself, that is looking to not be left in the dirt, is literally looking at self-driving cars, and you need a place to test them. You need you need the local government and law on your side if you're going to get these things on the road, because it's a very hard thing to do. It's even harder if no one will let you use their roads. So, yeah, this is definitely forward thinking, and it's going to be welcome for a number of different companies that are looking to, do something of this nature. So, yep, we'll see what happens, but safe to say, I think they're going to get a lot of, I don't want to use the word traction, but yeah, they're going to get a lot of interesting companies. Okay, now, and why don't we continue on and move on to our next story? So, good job, Portland. Love them or hate them, they're moving in the right direction, I feel like. So, with that said, from car to, why don't we do this other one, the big news story of the day. And this coming from Popular Science, it's a big deal. It's not just enough to be forward thinking, but it's a big deal when it comes to the future of the connected home. Because right now, you have instances of course, people, televisions accidentally ordering products through things like Amazon Echo. You have people accidentally triggering, the Google Home. You have all of these different people, and the devices are simple right now. Sorry, they're simple to the point where they'll accept any input command just like any computer. The problem is they're so accessible that you really do kind of need something different. Otherwise, again, it's a massive security risk because, to access it, all you need to do is be within the room. Well, like I said, Google has really debuted an innovation in this field that, Google's going to be the first, but of course, everyone else is going to now have to step up their game and have something similar. And this can really stop a lot of headaches as well. So here we have it. This from Google Home, saying that from Popular Science, and Google Home can now recognize individual users by the sounds of their voice. Very big deal. This by Rob Berger, saying an inevitable but important step forward for smart home hubs. And it absolutely is. So on Thursday, Google announced that its Home Smart Hub device can now recognize and identify up to 6 different users by the sound of their voice. Saying it was inevitable and, of course, but crucial step in the development of smart home virtual assistants. Saying that the new skill means that different people in a household will be able to ask the Google Assistant questions about what's on their calendar or what their commute looks like, and the home device will know who is speaking and give it tailored responses. It'll make it more streamlined experience for families sharing a smart home hub speaker. And yeah, that I think is going to be a lot of people. I mean, I know, of course you can be a single person living in a single home using a single device, and this really won't apply to you. But if you have, 2 people living together, 3 people using the same device, again, Google said up to 6 from a single device, this is going to be very helpful. And also, I assume there's going to be different kinds of permissions, thinking that, maybe a kid in the house would be able to use it, but would not be able to order things online or make purchases. Very special distinction. So they're saying that the setup process involves adding additional users through the Home app, who then train the device to recognize them by repeating a few key phrases. Makes sense. And Google uses a neural network that's actually located on the device itself to differentiate the distinct voices in the household. Makes sense. So the system will still respond to requests from random people, so you don't have to be a registered user to use it, but you can still use it and be registered. And like a guest in your home, but it also means that your home device should only read your more personal information to you. Privacy. Not total privacy. I mean, heck, you're talking almost directly to Google. I mean, it's not that private, but it's going to keep people from knowing, hey, what's on my calendar, and then giving them a completely different calendar. So the Amazon Echo devices already work with multiple user accounts, but they have to be switched manually by explicitly asking Alexa to do so, which adds at least one step. So Amazon had a little workaround, but this is obviously much more, as the article called it, streamlined. And of course, Amazon does let you do voice training so that Alexa can get to know your voice, but it can't recognize who is speaking and switch accounts on the fly. By taking Siri and training your voice through it, it more accurately picks up what you're saying, so that if it has trouble hearing you or understanding you, you train it and it can better identify what you want. But again, it was not, hey, this voice belongs to this person, deliver this information. This is, right now exclusively Google Home. And Amazon representative declined to comment on when or if Alexa would gain that skill. So, it's one of those things that you can't downplay the size and capability of a company as large as Amazon. Google is, massive yet again, but Amazon definitely has the money, research and development to do something like this. Just seems like Google has beat them to the punch. but I can't imagine this is not a skill Alexa won't pick up eventually. So, if you live in the United States, you should be able to set up this feature today by opening the Google Home app and checking for a card that reads multi-user is available. So again, Google Home, multiple users, just from the sound of your voice. Very, very cool. And again, this is the gateway to a much smarter technology, because again, right now, you have TV announcers. You have people who have no reason to ever access your device accidentally ordering things through online home digital assistants. And that just cannot continue. So giving the ability to recognize different voices right now, I'm sure it's kind of like a beta thing. They'll be able to tell you, individual information, but you won't be able to set permissions through it. But that's only going to last for so long, because eventually they are going to do just that. They're going to let you set those different permissions, and one day a kid will never be able to make a purchase without first verifying from the parent's voice, or maybe even a stranger who comes into the home won't be able to access the device and potentially shut it down or what have you. And then heck, it could even be used as a security device, an unrecognized person. This is the first step to a much smarter device, and again, I'm looking forward to it. So, okay, now that was one of our bigger stories, and this other one, again, we have to preface this by saying that this is a claim. This is, I believe, a lawsuit, and has not yet been proven, but creepy if true. Creepy if true. So this coming out of Ars Technica, and it's about Bose. Yes, they're again, I cannot knock them at all for the quality of their product. Bose is a very, very well-designed headphone. It's, incredible what they can do with over-the-ear, on-the-ear, that kind of thing. And the amount of technology that they have put into these devices is astonishing. But they might have added one little piece of technology that is pretty common, in cell phones and things like that. But one man claims that this is surreptitious to the point where it's violating his privacy. So here we have Ars Technica, and man claims his Bose headphones intercept what he's listening to. That's right. Saying that an Illinois man, his headphones transmit audio. His headphones transmit audio metadata to data miner segment.io. And again, Cyrus Farivar, this coming from Ars Technica. And here we have, an Illinois man has just accused Bose, the audio equipment manufacturer, of illegally wiretapping him via his Bose headphones. And yes, this does turn out to be a lawsuit, but yeah, we're going to get into if this is really wiretapping or if this is completely legal. So, according to a proposed class action lawsuit filed in federal court in Chicago, saying that a gentleman bought a pair of $350 Bose Quiet Comfort 35 wireless Bluetooth headphones. And those headphones use an app known as Bose Connect to skip, pause, and perform other controls on them. Make sense? And the civil complaint alleges that Bose collects the names of any music and audio tracks played through the headphones along with the customer's personally identifiable serial number. It also says that the information gets sent to third parties, including data miner segment.io. So, real quick, for those of you who do not know what a data miner is, it's a company that's sole purpose, sole existence on this planet is to collect as much data from consumers, from companies' products. They take all the data they possibly can, arrange it, organize it, collect it, and sell it again to different companies. And the companies that they sell the organized data to may be advertising agencies. It might be companies who want to do some market research. It might be companies who are looking to improve their product, perfectly inane things. Or even companies, again, such as advertisers who want to more appeal to a certain demographic by knowing what they watch, what they like, what they know, what they think. And yeah, so these data mining companies, they have so much data, thousands and thousands and thousands of data points that individually really aren't that important. This one man's workout soundtrack probably isn't going to really, be the point of Bose Connect, or Segment.io, the data miner, but the entire listening base of Bose, maybe the entire user base of Bose, maybe would identify some kind of trend, something that someone would find valuable. So that's a data miner. And now lawyers of the gentleman in this case argue that this constitutes wiretapping, saying that they further allege that this type of interception could have revealed a lot of personal information about consumers depending on their music or podcast listening habits. Saying that, for example, someone listening to The Greatest Generation, like its host, might be a little embarrassed to admit to the world that they listen to a Star Trek podcast. Okay, I'll start off by saying that, folks, no matter what you listen to, what you enjoy, be it a geeky computer show based around, interviews and technology, or The Greatest Generation, or, Star Trek podcast, whatever it may be, first of all, no reason to be embarrassed. And, I don't see why people would be embarrassed about that. But, yeah, he's trying to assert that metadata, and yes, we've gone over this before, that metadata, as much as we don't like it, and as much as companies claim that they strip the personally identifiable information so that it cannot be tracked back to an individual, there are still ways of doing it. I mean, again, it may not be able to say Ben Crossman, but it can say someone living on the East Coast who does this, this, and this at this, and this hours. I mean, there's enough data points to narrow it down a lot. So, but at the same time, I don't feel that's wiretapping. That's taking a bunch of data, and I don't feel it's actually taking what he's listening to, or even if he uses them as a Bluetooth headphone, or speaking device, listening in on what he's doing. I don't feel that's wiretapping. It's definitely, invasion of privacy, and definitely should be, kind of outlined within Bose, but I feel like this is reaching a little bit too far. So the article continues saying that neither Bose nor Segment.io, which is not party to the lawsuit, immediately responded to R's request for comment. So the lawsuit claims that several other headphone models send out this data, including SoundSport Wireless, SoundSport Pulse Wireless, Quiet Control 30, SoundLink Around Ear Wireless Headphones 2, and SoundLink Color 2. So a few different headphone manufacturers. Again, this didn't seem, if something like this is happening in one company, it's probably happening industry-wide. So again, this is where the whole thing hinges on, and this coming from the article, metadata versus content. So they said that the lawyers and the gentleman will have to show that the interception of audio metadata is the same thing as content contemplated by federal wiretap law. And honestly, I really don't think it is. Saying that, quote, "We discovered the issue, as we do in many of our cases, through an investigation conducted by our in-house computer forensics lab." And Bose lawyers likely will argue that while it may be sending out copies of metadata, and by the way, the metadata that would be sent out include artists, song titles, publishers, formats, things like that. Again, things that are pretty inane. They're saying that, as defined under the relevant wiretap law, Therefore, it could argue the company isn't liable. So, there we go. And Edelson seems to have anticipated this line of argument and points out that Bose products interact with consumer smartphones, which transmit operational instructions regarding skipping and rewinding audio tracks and their corresponding titles. So, I guess his argument, it's not just that it seems like Bose, they in their terms and conditions say that the actions do not constitute contents of any wire, oral, or electronic communication. So this is not really any communication because it's one way. You are listening to content, you are digesting content, and what content you digest is being sent over in the form of metadata to Bose. But that is not a communication, that is entertainment. So he says that because these headphones instead use a smartphone to control the headphones, the fact that this is going through a phone, a communication device, this can be construed as wiretapping. I mean, I am hugely not in favor of the amount of companies out there that are harvesting data to sell after the fact. After a product is purchased, after you own a product, they still collect data from that device and sell it after the fact, making money off of you, even after you pay the full asking price. But I'm also not a fan of just throwing around the term wiretapping to everyone who collects this kind of data. So, two sides to this, and yeah, we'll see which way this lands. But I will say, first off, Bose really enjoy their products, and gut reaction, I feel like he's overreaching. This gentleman who's levying this lawsuit against Bose is really overreaching when it comes to the kind of content and whether or not it constitutes wiretapping. So, at any rate, good luck with that to both parties, and we'll see what comes, any kind of legal precedent comes out of that. But why don't we move on to, wow, we only have a few minutes. Why don't we do something pretty darn quick? And let's do this one. MasterCard, you may know them, as they have an autoplay feature on their website. That's right, MasterCard, you may know them. They are, of course, a company dedicated to keeping your banking information safe. And, well, this article is nowhere near as short as I thought it would be, but we'll get started here. MasterCard adds a fingerprint sensor to its payment cards. That's right, a fingerprint sensor directly on the card. Because we're just now getting used to chips and pins. And they said, hey, you know what people like? A third way to verify their information. So here we go, saying that our fingerprints are quickly replacing pins and passwords as our primary means of unlocking phones, doors, and safes. Saying that they're convenient, unique, and ultimately more secure than easily guessed or forged passwords or signatures. Although, yes and no. I mean, they already have a team of researchers working on a master fingerprint where it's one fingerprint that would unlock any fingerprint device, but I digress. So, the author continues, it makes sense that fingerprint sensors are coming to protect your credit and debit cards. Saying that MasterCard is testing out new fingerprint sensor-enabled payment cards that, combined with onboard chips, offer a new and convenient way to authorize your in-person interaction. And instead of signing a paper receipt or entering your PIN number while struggling to cover up your number pad, you simply place your thumb on your card to prove your identity. And for anyone out there who cannot see the photo of this, think your card, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little square, and on that square would be the fingerprint reader. So pretty convenient, looks pretty good, pretty simple, and yeah, we'll get into when you may be seeing this in your wallet. So we'll be right back with more computer and technology news right after this. And trust me, we have a whole lot more coming up. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. More Computer America just after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and we're continuing on. But before we get back to the story about, again, MasterCard and their thumbprint reader, their fingerprint reader, we, of course, have a message from ZipRecruiter. That's right. ZipRecruiter, they're a great company that you may have seen advertising all over the place. And, well, we're no exception as we talk about, if you are looking for new hires. So, are you hiring, and do you want to know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Well, posting in just one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. And if you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all of the top job sites, not just one or two or just one big board. And now you can post to all of them with one click. Saying that with ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100 plus job sites, including social media like Facebook and Twitter, again, with just a single stroke of the key. And find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. So, no juggling emails or calls to your office. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. So, find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by Fortune 100 companies and thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. That's right. And now our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/free trial. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/free trial. And give it a try because, again, it's a free trial. And hey, you may find that perfect someone that you've been looking for to fill that perfect position. And, it's, again, we have checked out their product. We have used it for, let's see, we were looking for a booking person, someone to help with the booking on the back end and had to use them. And, could not have been simpler. Really, really check them out. It's worth your time. Okay. And now, for those of you just joining us, we are doing and have been doing computer and technology news. Again, brought to you by Computer America. And right now, that's right, we are doing this one about MasterCard. And your credit card is about to become a little bit more secure because, as important and as big of a deal as the chips were, I don't know about you guys, but I still head out daily and find places that don't even use the chip yet. The card readers are capable, but they're just not really widely accepted. So the card manufacturers thought, hey, you know what would be fun? Let's add another layer that won't be implemented for the rest of the world for another couple of months. And they're saying that the new cards are currently being tested in, of all places, South Africa, and MasterCard hopes to roll them out to the rest of the world by the end of 2017. And, of course, even if that happens, though, you'll have to wait for your bank or financial institution to get on board. I'll be honest, again, they look pretty convenient. They don't look too intrusive, and it looks, again, pretty simple, pretty foolproof. So, once the technology is ready for the public, and here's how it should work. Saying that your bank will inform you that the biometric card is available, and if you're interested, you will have to go to an enrollment center, and which of course will most likely be your bank, and your fingers will be scanned. So, an encrypted digital template of your fingerprint is stored on the card's EMV chip, saying that you can save up to 2 different prints. But they would both have to be yours, saying that you can't authorize someone else to use your card with your fingers. Not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I've lent my card to friends and, nothing bad happened. But at the same time, if they take that away, I don't know how appealing this would be. But saying that you can, of course, after your templates are saved, your card is ready to be used at compatible terminals worldwide. Saying that merchants don't have to get new equipment to accept your fingerprint-enabled plastic. So it at least takes that much out of the whole equation. The merchants don't have to get new card reading equipment. This is simply through the card itself. So they're saying that the card itself is surprisingly no thicker than a regular card. The sensor is a small thumbnail-sized rectangle that sits in the top right corner. And again, at a recent demo, the author tried to use the MasterCard's Rep's biometric card with their finger, and the, of course, transaction was denied. So, when she carried out the faux purchase, the payment went through and the machine began printing a receipt. What really surprised her was that the speed at which it happened, as in the speed was actually, very, very quick. And yeah, I think that's as far as we're going to take this one, but you can say that, of course, the method is only compatible with the chip and PIN cards, so it won't work with stores that only accept the older magnetic strip models. But the embedded chip technology has become increasingly popular in the US, and of course, they're saying that getting a new biometric card is troublesome since it would require a trip to the bank and potentially a long wait. But the convenience and the joy that you will get from that fancy new plastic may be worthwhile. And again, I don't know. I do like the fact that I can loan my card out to friends and family if they so need it. And if they take that away, if they, make it possible, I would really hate to have to carry around 2 different cards, one that only accepts fingerprints and one that is accessible in other ways. So, MasterCard, solving a problem that is definitely there. I won't negate the amount of stolen credit card information out there, but this may not be the best way. I don't know. So, with that being said, we can move on to, how about this one? Another Google story. And this one is very, very cool. We talked a little bit about it. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it last time. Well, actually a couple days ago. And it was Google Earth has a new version of Google Earth coming out. Saying, and here we go, Popular Science, Kelsey Atherton, saying that the new Google Earth lacks some important tools for researchers. And fortunately, Google says it will be keeping the classic desktop app up to date. So the world is right in the palm of your is right in the palm of your smartphone holding hand, saying that Google Earth rolled out a new version of its venerable globe this week, first for Chrome and Android, and later for other browsers and iOS. Saying it is a gentler, lighter Google Earth, a slick-down tool for exploring and sharing beautiful snippets of the world. Saying that unfortunately, it's also missing all of the niche features that Google Earth and that made Google Earth an invaluable tool for reporters and investigators across the world for a decade. Which makes sense. And again, there's a new trailer out. You can go check that out. The new trailer shows camera views. They use some very, very cool software on their end to kind of give shape and form to a lot of features on Google Earth. So obviously this is going to be done with massive amounts of data. There's going to be some hand polishing by artists, but at the same time, this was mostly done through, again, pure number crunching. And they gave form and shape to things like buildings, from like satellite views, not just from street views, but satellite views. They gave large skyscrapers form, mountains, giant, uh, giant land features. They made them 3-dimensional. And in the video that is, again, available through YouTube, you can check it out, and they actually have camera angles essentially flying through, giant valleys and flying over mountains and flying past buildings. Essentially, no possible way that someone was going to, take that kind of pictures and measurements from, let's say a helicopter or something like that, because you can completely guide it yourself. But it's still a very cool feature. And yeah, again, it makes the whole experience much more virtual reality-esque. But they have a quote here saying, "I first started using Google Earth when it launched, and I was a researcher in Seoul, South Korea." And this coming from Melissa Hanham, who worked as a researcher in the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies, saying that at the time I heard about a location where North Korea had launched a missile, and all I knew that it was near a town of Musadin-ri. So she opened up Google Earth and found the town and just started searching all around until they found the missile pad. And that's when she became a Google Earth evangelist. Very interesting. So Hanham has now a formal relationship with Google Earth, and while it's not a paid connection, she is a member of the Google Earth Outreach Trainers Network, providing instructions and creating training material, saying that Google works with nonprofits, such as the World Wildlife Fund, that aim to do good with satellite imagery, and it appears to be a mutually beneficial relationship, where, of course, Google gets to tell compelling stories about the work people do with its utility, and the NGOs, or the nonprofit organizations, get to request more and better imagery so they can do better work. So Google maintains a site devoted to case studies of nonprofits using the technology for good, like mapping slums in India or tracking deforestation in Indonesia, which may have required a special eye toward posting cloud-free satellite images. Makes sense. So they're saying that, after the Malaysia Airlines flight in MH17 crashed in Ukraine in the summer of 2014, from what was ultimately discovered to be a missile attack, Toller and Bellingcat used Google Earth to find the spot where the Russian anti-air team launched the missile. So again, it seems like this, researchers are really using this not just as an over time kind of thing, but even in the moment kind of thing, where they can find launch pads or find, built infrastructure that would otherwise be impossible to find on foot or even by plane. Satellite imagery at its best. So they're saying, and they have here saying that almost every geolocation we do is with Google Earth. That's right. So it's kind of hard to think that any of that weren't done with it, Toller said. For example, when we looked at the launch site for the missile that shot down MH17, when they fired the missile, it burned a field, so we looked at Google Earth historical imagery and compared that to the location over time. And you can see on one day it's totally fine, and the next it's all burned up because they fired a missile. Google Earth, of course, giving them the tools to do that. And for, again, anyone out there who is, looking at the video portion, you can kind of see, the world's tallest building. And then, of course, you go over and you look at the 2005 photo of the same location, and you can see, stark differences. Like this over time kind of mapping, and being able to go back, 10 years or 5 years or 1 year, and being able to see the difference is very, very helpful to a lot of researchers. So let's get into some of the limitations here, saying that another feature missing from the new Chrome version is the historical imagery in the time slider, which make it hard to compare images over time in the browser app. They're saying that another invaluable feature that's on the desktop version and missing from the new app is the annotation tool, where users can drop pins and draw lines and make shapes, saying that the markup and annotations can be easily shared and edited without performing a lot of time-consuming math. Makes sense. So they said that, and the functionality of Google Earth has led to some interesting uses. It says that it plays nice with 3D modeling app SketchUp. So handhams use the combination to import images from Google Earth, mocked up buildings, and figured out their heights from the shadows alone. That's right. And they even have a tutorial to do so. So they're saying that another limitation, and again, this is about the new Google Earth and versus the old one and how it's streamlined, as they called it. But when you streamline things, you of course get rid of features that niche users find helpful. So another limitation is that interest dictates what's available. There's a lot of images where people are in cities like London and New York, and in conflicts that get a lot of attention, like parts of Syria and eastern Ukraine, saying that when it comes to less widely publicized conflicts, it can be hard for journalists to narrow focus to get the same benefit from Google Earth. That's right. And yeah, so saying that it's possible to buy satellite images that aren't integrated into Google Earth, but it's expensive. And again, if you're a researcher or a reporter doing a story, or a researcher working with a nonprofit organization, it's obviously you aren't going to have a lot of money to throw around. So they say that a crowdsourced imagery analysis site maintained by the Center for Non-Proliferation Studies costs $60,000. Again, these are for satellite images of a region. $60,000. And Toller cites a figure of $3,000 for an image strip from Digital Globe. Not the kind of money that you just want to be throwing out when you are looking for quick and easy, and especially, rapidly changing information. So that's a prohibitive cost for many. So they're left with what's already purchased by a company and put online, which means, as Toller puts it, the availability is either fantastic or horrid depending on what you're looking at. Again, if it's very, very well publicized, like a popular conflict, it's going to be very well covered and maintained. It's going to be great. But if it's something that the public really hasn't taken an interest in, there's no reason to follow up on it. You will get poor coverage. So either way, Toller and Hanham both sang the praises of Google Earth desktop client as they know it, and what Google is dubbing the classic Google Earth. While they have played with the new release of Google Earth for Android and Chrome, they're sticking with the old version of the program until the new features get added. So there's still little things that aren't really present in the Chrome version of Google Earth. There's a service that Google called Panoramio, which has geotag photos taken by users who submit them. For example, if you're going to try to cross-reference video and see if it was a specific factory, you can put an overlay of Google Earth you can put an overlay in Google Earth of normal photos to people that people have taken in the area and uploaded to that area. Again, very, very useful if you are looking for things like time lapses. So the new Earth has a lot of amazing features around storytelling, but it doesn't yet have all the features that some people are accustomed to. And, so we're planning to maintain the classic the Earth 7 apps as we build out this kind of functionality in the new Google Earth. So that was a statement by Google. They're saying that the old one, they understand there are features that are not translated to the new experience, and they're working on it. And until they get them all over, until they get everything shifted over to the new experience, they will be maintaining and continue to curate the classic Google Earth. Nice middle ground. Very, very cool. Okay, and now for one of the last stories we have to do. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, but this is probably one of the biggest stories of the day. And this is politicizing This is politicizing something that was specifically created to not be anything about politics. And it's concerning. You can see where they're coming from. You can see where they're going for. But at the same time, it's a concerning trend. So this coming from Extreme Tech, and governing body declares no IP addresses for governments that shut down internet access. Again, you can see where they're coming from. You can see the intentions behind this, as noble as they may be. This is a step in the wrong direction, really, it feels like. So, one of the fundamental strengths of the internet is its interconnectivity, and they have a picture here linking just that. So, they're saying that, but certain regimes, when faced with political dissidents, protests, and even students possibly cheating on their exams, have taken to shutting down internet access, saying that the proposed is to deny the citizens access to tools like Google, Twitter, and Facebook, which can be used to document what's happening and reach out in a coordinated resistance. So now a government body has declared that there should be no IP addresses awarded to governments that cut off internet access from their citizens. Again, seems like it makes sense. So these infringing governments could find themselves refused new IP addresses under a new regulatory proposal, making its way through one of the 5 global IP allocation organizations. And for those of you who do not know, there's a lot of jargon in there. This is all overseen by by ICANN, and so there's an organization that handles things like Europe and Russia. There's an organization that handles things like Australia, lower Asian Pacific, and places in China. There's another one for Africa, another one for South and Central America, and then there's one for North America. All of these work together with ICANN to coordinate IP addresses. And so the Internet Registry AFRINIC will consider the proposed measure at its next meeting in Kenya, saying that AFRINIC is in charge of managing and allocating IP addresses across Africa, and it's one of 5 regional internet registries that manages the IP address allocation. So why is this such a big deal? Why do we care if the middle of nowhere regime has taken down the internet, and why should we care that we no longer have IP addresses? Who cares? Well, here's the thing. Saying that under the proposal, a new section would be added to AFRINIC's official rules that would allow the organization to refuse to issue new IP address to a country that has ordered an internet shutdown for an entire year. So it's not just a month, it's an entire year of no new IP addresses. That is a severe punishment. And again, one from an organization that was not truly meant to be political or really have a hand in this. So the ban would cover all government-owned entities and others that have a direct, provable relationship with said government. It would also prohibit any transfers of address space to those entities from others. Obviously, you could just say, random company is not with the government, and then you could, of course, sell IP addresses that way. So we tend to think of internet censorship and or shutdown as something relatively rare or confined, but check this out. In 2016 alone, there were 81 incidents. And again, 2016, saying that 22 in India, 22 in Iraq, 8 in non-ISIS controlled Syria, 6 in Pakistan, 3 in Turkey, and 1 or 2 in a number of other countries. 81 different instances. And again, all of those different places would then be banned for up to a year from receiving new IP addresses. So this punitive withdrawal of service would escalate if the country became a repeat offender, showing a pattern of cutting off internet access, and under the rule created by the new proposal, in the event of a government performing 3 or more such shutdowns in a period of 10 years, all resources to the aforementioned entities shall be revoked, and no allocations no allocations will be sent to the entities for a period of 5 years. So in principle, this denial of service would mean that no new government websites could be created, and if an infringing government tried to move its web properties over to a different one, Afrinic could respond to that attempt at circumvention by revoking associated IP addresses. And there will be no doubt be reciprocal escalation. Pitting the government against the internet is a no-win situation. Now, again, why this is so important, why this is such a big deal, is the very fact that you cannot create new websites, it's one thing for private citizens to not be able to create something like this, but if you had to, either cannibalize your own IP addresses or steal them or what have you, it's going to be very hard to run an effective government when you can't create anything new. And if you're banned from an entire year, you have to sit on it. There's no growth. There is no growth to your internet at all for that entire year. And then again, making them able to revoke said permissions so that even if you have this whole infrastructure built up around, certain IPs and and you're just chugging along just fine, if they decided that they should take it away from you, everything gets shut down. Imagine the US government without internet. That is what they're talking about. That is the kind of, chaos that could ensue if you do this kind of thing. And again, it's one thing to think about, oh, well, that's India. Oh, well, that's Syria. Or that's, one of these other countries that probably don't have too much of an online infrastructure as it is. But that's just the thing. You're turning the internet into a force of kind of like a weapon. You're turning it into a bargaining chip that, hey, behave or we'll take away your toys. And that is the complete opposite of the reason why we have something like ICANN. That is the exact opposite reason why we have all these different organizations that are determined to be nonpartisan, non-political, and provide the infrastructure for this massive thing we call the internet. And if we start letting them call the shots in countries on a political basis, I know right now it's really easy to say, oh, they're only going to do it for extremists or people who are going to take away internet. But it's not a far situation to think, well, today the internet, tomorrow it's, political revolts, or next time it's governments doing something that they don't agree with. It's very, very quickly could become a tool to control governments through this kind of system rather than punishing governments. So, at any rate, doesn't seem like a very smart thing to do, again, to turn the internet, which is traditionally nonpartisan, into something that is, political. So, okay. We are just about flat out of time. We have like a minute left, and unfortunately, we were not able to get to this story. We had one last one I really wanted to get to, and it was about Russia. It was about Russia and their plan to block VPNs and proxies that unblock blocked sites.
90 seconds.
Earlier this week, we tried to have an interview. We unfortunately couldn't make it work, but I believe it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. We were going to have private internet access. They are a VPN provider. And yeah, they'll be the first to tell you VPNs are not tools to, that should be banned. Instead, they are simply tools for people to use. And for Russia to ban them and say that they are workarounds and punishable to even own these tools
60 seconds.
makes the entire system less secure, for those who are looking to be, again, secure online. So, yep, check that out and more at computeramerica.com. We have links to everything that we've done here today. And hey, tune in tomorrow, as I believe we have on, and again, hoping for the best, to Tuangru. I hope I'm saying that right. And Tuangru, you can check them out, tuangru.com, or check out tomorrow afternoon, as we have another segment of Computer America tomorrow. So until then, everyone, have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
10 seconds.